Hey squad, thanks so much for watching today's video. Today's video is actually sponsored by AppMex. AppMex is my choice for online gold and silver when I'm looking to add to my stack. I do believe that with all the financial insecurity in the world, financial prepping is part of prepping. And gold and silver, having gold and silver in a physical form is one of the ways that you can not only hedge against inflation, but store some of your wealth even when currencies hit a crisis. And if nothing happens, if we never reach any kind of an SHTF situation, then gold and silver can be passed on to your children and grandchildren. Please check out AppMex on the internet at www.appmex.com. Tell them Prepping with Sarge sent you. All right, welcome back to the Friday Night Prepper Pre-Party Show. Before we get started, we have a couple quick rules to go through. No racism, no sexism. Be kind to the moderators. If you have a disagreement with somebody, don't be a jerk. Articulate your point and be respectful. That being said, we have a good time here. Everybody's usually respectful. Just want to let you know what the rules are ahead of time. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you found this video helpful at all, please consider giving me a thumbs up. And lastly, don't forget to check in the description down below for some discount codes for some products that I think you'll like, products that should make your preparedness journey a little bit more affordable. Thank you so much for sharing your night with me, and let's have some fun. All right, welcome back to the Friday Night Prepper Pre-Party Show. Thank you so much. This video is, of course, sponsored by AppMex. Next week is National Coin Week. This year's theme is pop culture. AppMex is going to have tons of licensed products for people who collect memorabilia, all kinds of different IPs from Coca-Cola, Harry Potter, many, many more. Coin Week is put on by the American Numismatic Association, and AppMex will be celebrating by putting out a new bundle each day. So if you're a fan of gold and silver, and if you enjoy collecting collectibles, you're going to want to check AppMex every day next week. I know I will. Remember, AppMex is my preferred online vendor for precious metals, and you can find them at www.appmex.com. Thank you so much to AppMex for sponsoring this video. We could not do it without you. Speaking of silver and gold, if you haven't already, I am in the new, I know the green screen's doing a little weird stuff there. I'm in the new, I've got an article in the new issue of Off Grid Magazine on page 42. And guess what the article is about, y'all? I'm going to show you. Hope everybody's having a good Friday night and happy Good Friday. We're going to talk about all this stuff. So I got an article in there about precious metals. And for those of you in the preparedness community who say precious metals, you can't eat precious metals, you can't, they're not a good prep, that kind of thing. I speak to all that kind of stuff. I actually talk about all those arguments against precious metals and give you good reasons why. And I also give a true story of how a close friend of mine had to basically bribe his way out of a country. So check out that article, page 42 on Off Grid Magazine's latest article, which it should be available for a couple months here. All right, a couple other quick announcements, then we're going to say hi to chat. And then tonight's topic is tornado tips. And I might even get into a little story about a personal tornado that I survived when I used to live in Kentucky. This was a EF1, I think, that hit Masterson Station. I think it was the spring of 2004, I think. It's either 2003 or 2004. But if you look up Masterson Station tornado, it should come up. And I lived pretty close to there. So I'm going to talk about that one, I think. Wanted to give a shout out to a couple people in the community. All three of which are moderators on this channel, of course. Maccabees Everyday Survival, thank you for your video response to my video that I did about a terrorism attack on U.S. hospitals. Wayne, whose channel is Becoming Dangerous, also did one, which I pinned in community posts. Maccabees, I'm going to pin yours as well, probably later on tonight or tomorrow. I try not to flood it too much, so I want to space it out a little bit. And Die Bullfrog 79, who we all know as Uncle Al, also did one. I got to find his. I think I missed his. So I know Uncle Al shouts out my channel a lot, so I appreciate you, Uncle Al. Thank you for all the support you've given to us. I will find that video, and I will pin that too. I just might have to spread this out over a couple days so I don't flood it, because what happens if you post too many things at once on YouTube, they won't actually tell your audience about it. What I've heard is that 3 is the max per day. So, this was going to be one notification. The post that I did for Wayne was another. And I also had a story go live this morning or a short video. I'm sorry, not a story, a short video went live. So that's my 3 for the day. So I got to spread it out just a little bit. But thank you for the video responses on that. It's a really important topic. Look at what happened this week with Florida State University, guys. You know, whether it be terrorism or an active shooter, like we know this stuff's going to continue to happen. So we have to prepare for it. I know they're dark topics. I got a lot of hate mail about the topics I've been doing lately. I'm sorry. I got to cover it. I got to be authentic. We got to get people prepared. We can save some lives here. I can't always talk about like hurricane preparedness and recession and stuff like that. Sometimes we have to hit on the harder stuff. And this week was a good example of why we do that. Okay. So if I missed you, if you did a video response to that and I didn't see it, you got to let me know so I can go and find your video and watch it and comment. Okay. All right. Let's say hi to chat real quick. And then we're going to get into the next segment. And I hope everybody's having a good week. And thank you for joining me this Friday. Really appreciate that everybody gives a little bit of their Friday to me. You could be doing anything, but you share a little bit of your time with this channel and this community, and it means a lot. Coffee First, thanks, Speak. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Wanda, hope you're having a great Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. Vicky Savage, thank you. Blessings to you. Orlando Prepper, always good to see you, my friend. Maccabeus, Everyday Survival. No worries. I appreciate you letting me know that you're around, and we are keeping you in our prayers. Everybody in the community knows what you're dealing with right now, so just know that we are lifting you up, brother. Wayne, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. Burpee Yoga Uncle, how are you doing? Aloha. It's good to see you, my friend. Radio Jonesy joining in from the other side of the world. Thank you so much. I love when we get some international viewers here. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? Keep it Lee. It's good to see you, brother. How you been? No worries. Happy Easter to you, brother. I know you're a Christian like me, and this is our high holiday weekend. In fact, I know a lot of people think of Christmas as the Christian high holiday. In my opinion, Easter is our high holiday. They're both important, right? But Easter is what the entire life of Christ was about, was preparing for the resurrection. So we might get into that a little bit at the end. Again, if you're not into Christianity, if it's not your thing, don't worry. I'm not going to push it on anybody or anything like that. I don't do that. This is just a little message I'll throw in the end for those of my viewers, my audience who are Christian like me. Lazarus Long, good to see you. How are you doing? Appreciate you. All right. Sunflower, thanks for coming back. I appreciate you. Virginia Bushcrafter, how are you doing? All right. And thank you, everybody over on Instagram. I see a few people over there. Again, if you want to get in the chat, Instagram, head on over to YouTube. It's actually going to be a little bit better experience. There's a little bit more interaction in the community, and you won't get this weird green screen thing that you're getting over there. But you're welcome to stay there if you want. All right. So tornadoes. Let's talk about this. Let me talk briefly about, I lived through several tornadoes when I lived in Kentucky, and I've talked about some of them before. I'm going to talk about the one that hit Masterson Station. And again, I think that was around 2004 or 2003. Now, at that time, I had just recently moved to Lexington, and I had Lexington, Kentucky, and I had taken a new job, left Massachusetts after living most of my life in Massachusetts for several reasons. I'm not going to bash on Massachusetts, but cost of living was just like eating me up. Again, I can go into that another reason. I had my reasons for leaving Massachusetts, and I wanted to, most importantly, I wanted to experience something different. I'd always lived in Massachusetts, and I wanted to have a whole different experience, like immerse myself in a very, very different culture. And if you've ever lived in the North and the South, there are extreme differences in culture that you won't even like truly know until you've immersed yourself into it. So that's why I did that. And I was working in a residential program at the time. I had just taken a new job as a director for a residential program, and hadn't ever really experienced tornadoes before that. And when I moved there, I had asked people, like, do you all get tornadoes? And they kind of downplayed it. They were like, yeah, you occasionally get a little EF0 or EF1, but really not that much. Just so you know, Kentucky does get a good share of tornadoes. And they don't often get like the big ones like you might see in Oklahoma or Kansas, like those big EF5s in Texas. You don't typically get those there, but you do get a lot of EF0, EF1, EF2s. So those are the small tornadoes, and they still can kill people. They still are destructive, and they're still scary when they happen. So my very first tornado was this one here. And we're watching the news, and if you don't live in an area where that's prone to tornadoes, you might not know what we're about to talk about. But they actually have pretty good ability to predict where these things are and where they're going to land with the Doppler radar and some other systems that they have. And so typically you're going to get some warnings as long as you're paying attention to media. Like, you'll know there's a chance of tornadoes that day. And there's certain times a year, like right now, where we know there's increased risk of tornadoes. And so you have to kind of pay attention. And what you'll see on the media is that you're looking for things like changes in the color on the radar and hook echoes. So it actually looks like a little hook, right? Like, that's a sign. Sometimes if you see, like, on the radar maps, if it's purple, that's a lot. If there's like a cluster of lightning strikes, that's another sign. And there's certain, like, rotation of the clouds that they can tell. They're like, yeah, that's probably a tornado is going on right now. So that's what it looks like when you're looking at the radar. If you've ever watched the National Weather Channel or whatever, you probably have seen it on there. And what it looks like when you're living it, when you're there, is like the sky will turn this color that's like a dark green. It's like between a dark green and a black. Okay. And you'll start seeing, like, when it's approaching, sometimes you get these things called shelf clouds, which look really ominous. It actually looks like a wave coming up from the ocean, like a giant tsunami type wave. That's what it looks like, the clouds. And sometimes it has like these tendrils hanging down like that, right? And then you might hear, like, the lightning starts picking up. Now, a lot of people die from just the lightning strikes and tornadoes. You don't want to be outside in an open field or anything like that when there's a tornado going on. So there's tip one. You don't want to be outside when there's a tornado going on, because of that chance of that lightning strike. And hail. There's also a lot of hail a lot of times with tornadoes. So you'll start seeing the, like, flash, 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 flash. And it's not like any kind, if you've never lived in that area, you've never been through a tornado, it's different from your lightning storm that you might get up in the Northeast, right? Like, it's like nonstop flash lightning, like flash, 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 like that. And so, so we're watching it on the news, and they're talking about how it's getting closer and closer to our area. Now, I had, at that time, my first wife was with me, and my sister was visiting. And we're watching it. And now, again, the three of us were from the Massachusetts area, so none of us were really experienced with tornadoes, but at least I kind of knew what to do. So as it's getting closer and closer, I'm telling the two of them, like, hey, we got to get under the stairs here. There was a nice little spot that's like away from the windows on the basement floor, and it was like kind of behind a stairwell, which is, a lot of times stairwells will hold up when an entire building gets demolished. You'll see that. It's kind of weird. It probably has to do with the architectural structure, the geometrical structure of the staircase. So I'm trying to get them to come over there, and they had hit freeze. So we talk about fight, flight, freeze. They were in freeze. And I'm talking to them, and they're just like looking at me with this like blank look on their face. And I'm like, yo, that tornado is like 2 streets away. We got to get away from the windows. Finally, I kind of grabbed them and moved them over there. And we're like watching, the flash of the lightning, because it's, you can see, even though we weren't close to the windows, you could see it. And then as it gets close, it sounds like a rolling train. Like, it's loud. And we knew it was close. And then as a few seconds later, it's gone. And nothing was broken. There's a few tree branches down in our yard and that kind of thing. So we're looking outside, and yeah, there's some tree branches out, and people are coming out of their house, and they're like, man, that thing was close. Well, it wasn't until the next day that we found out that what had happened is it basically skipped over our neighborhood. So what can happen, I'll show it this way. So a tornado can travel along the ground and then lift up and then touch back down. And that's exactly what it did. It actually lifted right over our neighborhood. Now, from what I know now, being that it was probably as EF1, I don't think we would have died, but it would have done some damage. It would have done some damage. It probably would have tore up the roof a little bit. I have seen buildings, like brick buildings, get smashed with in Kentucky with an EF1, so it can actually like blow a hole through a wall. I've seen that. I've seen stop signs basically like corkscrew wound around a telephone pole. It does weird things, and it'll like do this thing where like one side of the street is just get demolished, the other side of the street you wouldn't even know anything happened. So they're very, very weird, and it's you can be in the right place or the wrong place and like have a near miss. That wasn't the only time I had a near miss. I had a couple near misses, but that was probably the closest, and that was my very first tornado, and it was not a good time. They're never a good time. And to be honest, if even though hurricanes are extremely dangerous too, I think I prefer to deal with a hurricane than to deal with tornadoes. Both are potentially deadly. With a hurricane, you usually have a few days warning. You usually have a couple days to prep and make your decision of, do I want to bug out and get out of town, or am I going to bug in and muscle it out and hope that we don't get killed. But with a tornado, you don't get that much warning. You know that there's a chance that day that they could happen, but as far as like your proximity, like close to you warning, you might get half hour, an hour. It just kind of depends on the storm. All right, let's check your chat again, and then I'm going to go into some tips. All righty. Tridia monitor Easter. Yep, that's right. Excuse me. The pollen is still bad here. Steve, it's good to see you. How are you doing tonight? Prepper for the ages. Our prayers are with you as well. I know what you're going through. I watched your videos, and I just want to let you know I'm right there with you. I left a comment about my experiences. My prayers go with you. Vanessa Kitty, if I didn't say hi before, I'm sorry I missed it. Welcome. Thank you so much. Yeah, when the sky turns green, it's no joke. You got that right. Tornadoes are no fun. Heavy hail incoming from when the tornadoes get close. Yep. So those of you who are in chat, I know some of you live in some of these areas like Texas and whatnot. Have you ever seen an EF4 or an EF5? If you have and you want to come on the show and talk about it, I will get you on the show. I can't even imagine, because like I've only seen EF1s. I can't imagine what that's like to see an EF4 or EF5. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, it's a classification system. An EF0, an EF0 could hit a house, and the house is going to take a little bit of damage, but it's probably going to stay intact. Trailers, not so much. An EF1 can do some damage. It can rip off a section of a roof. It can knock a hole in a wall. I've seen that. EF2, now you're starting to get into like you could potentially demolish a brick house. Anything above an EF2 is extremely deadly, and they often are very, very big. EF4s and 5s can be like up to a mile wide, so it's not like you can drive around this thing. It's like it's unavoidable if it's in your area. You just got to get into some kind of shelter or as low as you can and pray. EF4s and 5s are scary business. Yeah, it looks like the middle of the country, Lee, is going to get it this weekend. Do a lot of stormwater and calls them like fight. Well, that's pretty cool skill to have, that your wife can do that. So Wayne says, for those of you watching on Instagram, Wayne says that his wife was a forecaster and oceanographer, and she can actually call where they're going to be. That's pretty nice that you've got a partner like that. Amen, Vicky Savage. Softball size hail in Fort Worth. Yeah, that hail can like tear through metal and roofs, and it's crazy. See a lot of new buildings being built, and the first thing they built is concrete stairwell. Okay. Yeah, often the stairway, that would be my choice if I was in a situation like that. If I can get to a stairwell on the lowest part of the building, that would be my preference. We're going to talk about some other options here, though. 1997, Jarrell tornado broke into 3. Whoa, that must have been crazy to see that. Yeah, they have to be, right? Vicky says that airplanes have very thin skin. They have to be to fly, right? 1999 in Fort Worth, had a tornado hit downtown and damaged many buildings, including the FBI building. Destroyers in World War II were called tin cans. Yep. If you guys haven't seen that show, what was that show that they did last year about the bomber groups in World War II? Anybody remembers the name? Put that in chat. That was really cool. And there's a book. It was based on a book. Yeah, sometimes you can feel it in the air. Wayne, I agree. When I was in Kentucky, there was like, it felt like there was like a staticky-ness to the air. It felt heavy. The air felt heavy. The new Twister movie's fun. I would say there's a lot of accuracies in there. They, of course, with those movies, they take some creative liberties to make it exciting and whatnot. But it was as far as like some of the stuff they were doing, like launching fireworks into the tornado and stuff like that. I don't know if anyone's ever done that. I think it would be. I mean, I get why people chase tornadoes. I really do. I understand it. It's exciting. It's like a adrenaline rush. Like there's very few things in life are going to compare to that. I don't think I would ever want to get that close to one again if I can avoid it. In the afternoon hours of May 27th, 97, a large, slow-moving, and exceptionally intense F5 tornado caused extreme damage across portions of Jarrell, Texas. Wow. Vanessa saw 4 at once heading her way in Texas. Wow. Yeah, holding on to yeah, right, exactly, Coffee. Holding on to a pipe through an EF5 tornado with just a belt. Yeah, I don't know about that. Laura, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you. Hope you're having a good Friday. On the Good Friday. Wayne saw one in Tulsa. Watching it from the People's Republic of Michigan. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you, Cucumber Farmer. I assume that's what that means. Yeah, and the flood warnings usually come with it too. And I actually have lived through a couple of those too. I lost a vehicle in the flood. I've talked about that on some other videos. Yeah, so Coffee, both of those movies, Twister and Twisters, I think this is the second one. I enjoyed both of them. The Helen Hunt one, I think, is probably a little bit better, but I enjoyed both. Yeah, Ben Franklin with the flying the kite with the key in the thunderstorm. Yep. All right, let's go into some tips here. Okay, so first thing, well, actually, let me pull up my list here. I don't want to miss anything. All right, so first thing is if you're using smartphones, sign up for the alerts. We talk about this over and over again on my channel. Go to your app section, download your local news station's apps, then go into settings and turn on emergency alerts. This has saved my butt so many times, and it's not just for storms. When we had riots here in 2020, it actually was giving information about like unsafe area, don't go here, that kind of thing. It's free. It's free. Download your local news apps, go into settings, and turn on your alerts. This can potentially save your life. If you've got a dedicated weather radio, even better. But here's the thing, go and check your batteries, make sure it's good to go, give it a test, make sure your signal's nice and clear, because signals can move around and that kind of thing. So you might have to move the weather radio to another part of the house. And if you have it turned off, it's not doing you any good. So if you know, yeah, I get that maybe some people don't want to have it on all the time, but if you know storms are coming in your area, turn on your weather radio. Figure out wherever you're living. If you're in a trailer, if you're in a house, if you're in an apartment building, figure out in advance where the safest spot is. Okay. And for those of you who might live in a mobile home community, maybe there's a community building that's an actual like brick and mortars or wood or concrete that's going to be safer, right? If not, then you got to think about where the nearest shelter is that you can ride it out to, and can you get there if you had to quickly, okay? And you need to think about this in advance. Next, have an emergency kit ready to go, Okay. So what are you going to have in there? So, well, let's say we're going to be, and there were many nights where me and Mrs. Sarge basically were huddled in our safe room, riding it out. So what are kind of things do you want to have in there? Well, there's a pretty good chance you're going to lose power when there's tornado season. So you're going to want to have flashlights, check your batteries, have extra batteries, have a little radio in there, or you have your weather radio in there, check your batteries, water, throw a couple granola bars or something that's going to last a long time in there. So you've got some like comfort food, maybe some morale food, maybe some candy that lasts for a really long time just for that little morale boost, especially if you've got kids. Like, certain candies last a long time, like Skittles. God, my allergies are killing me. Sorry. First aid supplies. Why don't you have a first aid kit in your emergency room? Whatever room that is, if it's the basement, the living room, your bathroom, whatever the safest room is, why is your first aid kit not there? Right? Guess what, folks? I got a discount code for Rhino Rescue in the description down below. Use my discount code. Get yourself a dedicated first aid kit, not one of those crappy ones that you get from the big box store. They don't have what you need. You got to really build it up with like tourniquets, good gauze, good finger bandages, stuff to like clean a wound. I recommend you get some of those halo seals. I've done a lot of videos about first aid kits. Let's not use all the time here, but if you need a good first aid kit, not one of those crappy aluminum box ones, get a good first aid kit and put it in your emergency room. By the way, if you get anything of value out of this, please consider giving me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to check in the description down below for some discount codes that I think you'll enjoy. Practice tornado drills with your family, right? Especially if you got kids. If you got adults, I get it, but if you've got kids, you need to explain to them what it is, where they go, and when it's time to move, they move. It's not like, let's go grab a bunch of toys. If you want to have one toy ready to go, have that ready to go by the bed, right? Speaking of what do you have by the bed, there's several items that I always recommend you keep by your bed, regardless of whether it's a tornado or a bump in the night. Okay, so let's go through those right now. A pair of shoes or boots that'll lace up, especially with a tornado. This is one that a lot of people think about. If a tornado hits your house, you're going to want to have on some kind of foot protection because there's going to be broken glass everywhere and nails. Have your boots by your bedside or bedside and put them in the emergency room. But either way, make sure they're ready. What else are you going to have by the bedside? I recommend you have your car keys by your bedside, just in case there's a situation, whether it be a tornado or something else where you've got to get out of your area. Maybe now there's a gas leak in your area. Gotta go. Fires. Now because of the tornado, there's a bunch of fires in your area. You got to get out. So have your vehicle keys by your bedside every night. Guess what else you can do with that? If you hear a bump in the night and you think somebody's breaking into your house, if you're close enough to your vehicle, hit that alarm button. It's going to draw attention to your house. It might be enough to scare the person out of the house. What else you can have by your bedside? Flashlight. And if you've got older flashlights, consider upgrading. What's out there now versus like that flashlight that you have from 1980s, world of difference in terms of capabilities, in terms of the light that it can throw. There's rechargeable ones, there's battery powered ones. Pretty sure I got a discount code in there for PowerTech. You can check in the description down below for that too. But get yourself good flashlights. Every family member should have one by their bedside. Make sure there's a couple in the emergency room as well. You should have a fleet of flashlights. Okay. Whistles. Every family member should have a whistle by their bedside. Throw a couple extra whistles in that emergency room as well. Why? Well, if debris starts falling in and you're trapped under there, but you can move around enough that you can get that whistle to your mouth, you might be able to signal to rescue people like, hey, there's a person under here. Please get me out of this mess. Also, if you have it like attached to your body through paracord or something like that, and something that's going to stay on your body, hopefully, people have gotten lifted up by these tornadoes and dropped a mile away and lived. It's weird, I know, but sometimes there's this thing that happens where the tornado like spins up, and then as it's dropping you, it's not always like a straight free fall. Sometimes it's unwinding and they get like gently let back down to the ground, or gently enough that they've lived. Sure would be nice to have a whistle if you're out in the middle of some farmer's field or something like that. Especially if you got a broken leg. What else? You know, you guys know how I feel about self-defense and that kind of thing. Maybe your pew pew pews. Maybe you got those by the bedside, but maybe you also consider you've got one locked up in the emergency room. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of dirt bags out there, and we see this here during hurricane season, that there are really scummy people that will take advantage of situations like this to loot a property. It can be very, very dangerous. You know how we feel about this on this channel. I believe if you live in the United States, other countries have their own rules, and watch and check your local laws, but I believe you have a right to defend yourself. You make that decision for yourself. I get it. Some people are uncomfortable with that, but you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do if the bad guy comes at you. If you only want pepper spray, then at least get pepper spray, but you got to have some kind of plan, because begging and pleading when somebody's like a complete sociopath and they want to take everything from you, including your children and your life, you're going to wish you had more than begging and pleading. Let's just say that. And again, those tornado drills, make sure you're practicing those with kids. I think what am I forgetting? Y'all, if you have anything I'm forgetting about, like bedside stuff, like what to keep by your bedside, I feel like I'm forgetting something there. Outdoor. Oh, if you know storms are coming, tie down your yard furniture. The number one thing, you guys are going to crack up at this, the number one thing that goes flying in tornadoes and hurricanes is those trampolines that kids like to play on. Anchor that thing down. It's like a parachute when high winds come. And you could be responsible if your kid's trampoline goes flying into the neighbor's yard and kills their kid. Guess what? You're going to have one. Not only are you going to have a hard thing to live with, but you're going to have one heck of a lawsuit, because they're going to say you should have anchored that down, and they're right. Anchor it down. Reinforce your home if you've got the financial capabilities to do that, right? So that can be anything from storm shutters to reinforced roofs. You again, work within your budget, do what you can. I get it. There's things I would like to do to my property that I can't afford right now, but do what you can. Biggest thing is monitor your weather conditions and know how that radar reads, what channels are good ones to listen to. So if you're not aware, if you're new to those areas, if you just moved there this year, then a tornado watch means that conditions are favorable for tornadoes to develop. If you hear them say a tornado warning, that means that there is it's showing on radar that there's probably a tornado active right now. So if they say there's a tornado warning in your area, like within your neighborhood, you need to move to your shelter. You've got to move. Okay. And again, if you practice this, if you do the drills, you can, just like with anything else, you can overcome that fight, flight, freeze response if you train. So this is why you do the drills. Okay. You want to stay away from windows. You want to have a communication plan with your family in case everybody gets separated. Remember what I said about sometimes it picks people up and moves them. This happens. So where is the family going to meet up? What if you can't get back to your area because there's a gas leak or fires are now going on? What's your secondary location? Why are you not talking about this with your family members? Do it now. Okay. Protective gear. I talked about having boots by the bedside. Why not a helmet? Right? Think about it. Even if like you just get a bicycle helmet, they're fairly cheap. It's some protection for your head. There's probably better options than that, like a military helmet. You can probably get some of those at a military surplus store, right? Do what's within your budget. I know people who used football helmets. But if you can't get anything else, like a roller skating or a bicycle helmet is better than nothing at all. If you've got nothing at all, then I would have pillows in your emergency room. And if you hear that storm's coming, you cover your head with the pillow as best you can. Again, not as good as a helmet. As several people said in chat, it's not always one tornado. Sometimes it's a series, right? Sometimes it's a series in one little cell. There can be a series of tornadoes. So what you want to make sure you're doing before you leave your safe area, make sure the storms are done, right? So listen to your weather radio that you should have had charged with batteries. Be careful when you're exiting. If you're in a tornado shelter, be careful when you're exiting a tornado shelter. Stuff is probably moved around, right? So make sure that it is safe before you exit that safe area. In the aftermath, First thing you can do is check on everybody around you. Family first, then everybody, look around your neighborhood. Is anybody hurt? Are you in a position where you can render first aid? This is why we say on the channel, what do we say? You got to train in CPR, first aid, and stop the bleed. Why are you not doing that? Get the training. And we also recommend on this channel that you get training in mental health first aid, because guess what? After trauma like this, people are dealing with some after effects of trauma. That can become PTSD if it depends. It depends on a lot of factors. We've talked about this on numerous videos. I can't get in depth with this tonight, but it can develop into PTSD. But if you have a little bit of mental health first aid and get that person talking, and you can validate, and you can, get them through it and get it out of here and out of their mouth, that will mitigate the chances of that quite a bit. Okay. Watch out for downed power lines. Watch out for broken gas lines. Watch out for all of that stuff, right? Know that storms tend to come in lines, right? So yeah, you got through one line of tornadoes, there might be another line, a storm cell right behind it. So don't feel like you're out of the woods until your meteorologist for your area says we're in the clear. Okay, so keep monitoring the weather. All right, let's check our chat, and then we're going to start to wind this one down. Folks, again, if you found this helpful at all, please consider giving me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. All right, scrolling. Softball size hail, yep. All right, I'm just trying to figure out where I left. Flash flooding, okay, yeah. Yes, Lee says GMRS radios have a NOAA frequency button. Yes, those little Baofangs, you can program those to do the weather radio. At least mine you can. Chocolate might be a good option. Yes, kind of depends on the melty factor. Exactly. Yeah, we lost Vicky. Exactly. That's how I lost my vehicle. People think like, well, why didn't you move your vehicle? Because the flash flood happened in minutes. That's why I didn't get a chance to. That's why I lost my vehicle. Good. Awesome. Get that first aid training. I love that. Good job. Oh, Laura, great suggestion there. So Laura Mannion says, have a crowbar in your safe room in case you get trapped there. That is an awesome suggestion. I love that. I didn't think of that. Let's say throw an axe in there too, if you can, in case you have to bust your way through. I love that. That's the best one I've seen in a long time. Nobody else, I've never seen anybody else mention that. Wayne says, keep a copy of Celine Dion's latest album. Somebody will dig you out just to shut it off. Put hot dogs in your pocket. The dogs will sniff you out first. I've heard that. Or bacon. Dogs are bacon, that the dogs will find you quicker. We had a trampoline, and one windy night our neighbor knocked on our door. That's why our trampoline was bent over our fence. I'm glad nobody got hurt. Bedside, I have handheld defense-y thing. Yep, pew pew. Lantern, candle, flashlight, fire extinguisher. Great suggestion. Why not throw a fire extinguisher and a CO detector? That's from Lee, by the way, Cold War prepper, and radiation detector. Those are great suggestions. I love the idea of keeping a fire extinguisher in your safe room as well, and a CO detector. Great suggestions there. Leather gloves to dig yourself out. Yeah, I keep leather gloves in my vehicle, in my bug out bag, and in my get home bag. Not leather gloves. I prefer leather gloves are great. I prefer the mechanics gloves. That's the brand that I really like. CERT training. Yep, absolutely. Campsite cruising. How you doing? Appreciate you. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your Friday. Ryan Hall, all y'all on YouTube is Wayne suggests. He taps into the same radar my wife uses. Awesome. Yeah, we've got a guy here, Rob Fowler for Charleston. That's our weather guy. We trust him. He's gotten us through multiple hurricanes. He's been doing it for a very long time. In fact, he's probably getting close to retirement, which I hate, because we can't easily replace that many years of experience. He understands Charleston's waters and our wind patterns. And what's funny is the National Weather Channel, they will often make predictions for Charleston, and he'll say, yep, no, that's wrong. He doesn't call them out, but he'll say, this is what other people are saying, and this is what's going to happen. And he's 9 out of 10 times he's right. And that's just because he has the experience for our area. There's certain currents in our ocean. There's certain ways that the wind hits buildings in this area that, like, you can't predict that from, Washington, D.C. You have to know our area to know those things. And that's true for all of you all's areas. Know who the best meteorologist is that you trust in your area. All right, we're going to start to wind this one down. Those are some awesome tips, y'all. And I thank you so much for adding to that. Really, really cool tips that you all added into that. All right, so now a couple things I want to shout out again. 3 channels I want you to check out. And these 3 channels did a video response to my video challenge that I did about what would you do if terrorists or active shooters, you could change it to active shooters, attacked a hospital and you were in the hospital when that happened. So Maccabeus Everyday Survival. Wayne's channel is Becoming Dangerous. And you guys, can you guys throw your links up if you're still there for that video? And I'll put them up on the screen if you don't mind, if you got a second. So Becoming Dangerous, Maccabeus Everyday Survival, and the third one, which I got to go find the video, is Uncle Al's his channel is Die Bullfrog 79. Okay, so please check out their channels and check out those videos. And anybody else who did a video response to that, let me know. I'm going to be doing some more scenarios, and I'm sorry if you guys find that stuff dark. I'm going to stay with it. I do think that there's a danger. I told you where I'm getting the intel from. It's from Sarah Adams, CIA targeter, on the Sean Ryan show. So if you think that I'm making this stuff up, go watch those for yourself and decide for yourself if you think the threat is real or not. I got more videos coming about it, more scenarios coming, and I'm going to do it. I know it's not light. I know it's not the most fun topic. I know it's hard to think about these things, but we got to stay prepped. We can potentially save lives here, folks. So if it's not for you, I understand, but I'm going to keep putting it out there. And I'm saying that because I got messages from people saying your content's really dark right now. I know it is. It's for a reason. All right. Thank you, Campsite Cruise. I appreciate it. All right. So let's go ahead. I'm going to start to get into my final message here. And I have a couple thoughts tonight. This shooting in the Florida State University. These things are going to continue to happen. I know there's people out there who think, oh, if we just take away the guns, it's not going to happen. No, that's absolutely not true, because number one, you're never getting all the guns off the street at this point. Okay, there's Uncle Al's. I'm gonna go ahead and put that one up. Thank you, Coffee. Right, exactly. It's got to be talked about. Thank you. So there's Uncle Al's video. These things are going to happen, folks. Active shooters, and I do think we're coming up at some point. We're going to see this terrorism attack that Sarah Adams keeps talking about in the United States, and it's going to be similar to that October 7th attack that you saw in Israel, but it's probably going to be bigger than that because they've been planning this. According to Sarah, this is where this information is coming from. She's a CIA targeter who still has contacts in deep cover in Al Qaeda and ISIS-K. This is directly where it's coming from the bad guys, okay? Or from agents within that are connected to these bad guys. This is where it's coming from. You have to know what you're going to do if you're in these situations. And I really liked with Wayne's video. Wayne has combat experience, and his strategy for how he would respond to this is different from mine. I've never had combat experience. I know how to shoot. Sorry, there's Maccabeus's video right there. Thank you, Coffee First. I really appreciate you. I've had training with guys who served in infantry, but I'm no operator. I know that. My role in that situation is probably best served to help fight within a defensive barricade. I've got a better shot of doing some good there than seeking and hunting down. Now, Wayne has got combat experience. He knows how to maneuver in hallways and things like that. So his response is different than mine. And you have to think for yourself, how realistic is your response, right? Are you John Wick? Are you Rambo? Or are you a guy like me who has a little bit of training, but has never actually had to use it in that capacity? Okay. And so what is the best thing for you to do? In my case, I think I would support the floor that I'm at. And if somebody comes in, I'm going to fight like, I love this expression, so I want you to remember this. And it's not mine. I didn't make this up. Walk away from a fight when you can walk away. You're always going to win that. Okay. You're always going to win if you walk away. When you can't walk away, when your safety is in imminent danger, when feel like you're in danger and you feel threatened of imminent bodily harm, then it's time to fight. And when you have to fight, you need to fight like you're the last monkey in line to get on Noah's Ark. And brother, it's starting to rain. You got to fight dirty, and you got to fight like you've never fought before. Everything goes into it. Gouge out eyeballs, bite the groin. I don't care what you have to do. I want you to survive. Okay? Because there's no fair fight at that point. You're not throwing fists and thinking that somebody's going to break it up. If somebody comes in that building and they're hurting people like that, gouge out an eyeball, gouge out their throat, bite their throat. I don't care what you have to do. I want you to survive. Okay? You matter. So that's that. Go back and watch those videos if you haven't yet. Okay? They're the last 2 videos I put up. And let's shift gears one more time. I want to end with something a little bit more positive. So here's the point where I'm going to say, I'm going to speak specifically to my Christian brothers and sisters out there. But if you're not Christian, again, I'm not going to push it on you. I don't like when people try to push their religion on me. So I'm never going to do that. If you want to click out, I appreciate it. Thank you for joining me so much tonight. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. If you want to hang out for a few more minutes, if you're curious, if you are wondering about Christianity and you've been thinking about it, then this is a high holiday weekend for us. This weekend is about Jesus dying for us to forgive our sins, and then resurrecting to show us that our sins are forgiven and that there's life eternal waiting for us, right? And so if you're somebody out there who's listening to this and you're like, yeah, I would like to believe, but I really don't know what to believe, or I don't know how, science gets in my way. I've known a lot of people like that are very their minds are very science oriented, but they also see like, yeah, there's some benefits to belief. I see that people live happy lives when they believe. They're not afraid of death. They heal faster, which is true, by the way. People who have faith do heal faster. That's been scientifically proven. How do you do that? Well, if it's hard for you to believe, then all you have to do is meditate, open your heart, and ask Jesus to come to you, because he's waiting for an invitation, right? So as Christians, we believe that God gave us free will. So if you choose to reject God and say, I don't want you in my life, God will respect that. But if you're wanting to, if you want to believe and you don't know how, he's just waiting for the invitation. So all you have to do is meditate on it and ask for that and open your heart, and you will have it. Okay. And again, I'm not trying to get too preachy. You guys know I don't do that here. That was just a special Easter message for my Christian brothers and sisters. I hope you have a wonderful Easter. Today is the solemn day. Sunday is the celebration day. Okay. So I hope you have a wonderful celebration on Sunday. And I appreciate that you gave me a little bit of your Good Friday today. All right. So I think there was one more channel I needed to put up. Did we get Wayne's on there? Hang on one second. Here we go. So let's put Wayne's channel up there, and that's and check out all 3 of those, please. I really appreciate it. And in chat, it looks like Coffee put my video up there too. Mine is basically just go into my regular videos, not the live streams, the regular videos, and it was the last video I did. Okay. All right. Yeah, no worries, Lee. I know you've had a lot going on. Appreciate you, and I appreciate all the support you've given me. I have heard that Hill Country Prepper. I don't know what to expect. I've heard a lot of chatter about Russia doing something in Europe on Sunday. I hope not. Again, that's going to be part of my prayers this weekend. Is I hope not. And tomorrow is supposedly this National Day of Protests. I think it's still going to happen in some areas, but I think the chatter's died down quite a bit, so it shouldn't be too disruptive. Just stay on your toes, pay attention. Don't get yourself into a bad situation if you can avoid it. Amen. Amen to that, Unc. Happy Easter, everybody. All right, let me go ahead and close this one out. I want to say thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Happy Easter for everybody, and hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. YouTube and Instagram. Thank you for everybody who's watching over on Instagram. And don't forget, keep planting your seeds, keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.